Have you ever thought about reinventing yourself? Would you even know where to begin? We're going to talk about that. Welcome to another episode of The Good, Bad, and Ugly of Business. I'm your host, Catryn Becker. We love to talk to all sorts of different successful people because we want to learn the secrets of their success. We want to learn from their failures just as much as their wins, because while a smart person learns from their mistakes, a genius learns from the mistakes of others. So let's bring those geniuses in and let's hear what they've done so that you can either avoid the mistakes completely or you can learn to fail faster. I have a dear friend with me in this episode, which is always special. I love making new friends, but it's great to connect with old friends as well. His name is Anthony Lindsay, and he is the founder of Astor Business Centers. We met here in Houston, but he's actually from the UK and is joining us for this episode from London, England as well. So Anthony, welcome to the show.
I'm really glad to be here, and thank you for having me, Catryn. And it's good to talk to you again. We just had quite a good catch up before we even started recording.
I know, that's why we're all like, you can feel the energy of our voices because we were just having such a fun conversation. But just to bring everyone up to speed, Anthony and I met because we joined a BNI group together that we started here in Houston a couple of years ago. And it was great getting to meet with him every week, have one-on-ones with him and really learn a lot about it. But he's been pivoting, which is why I started the episode the way I did. So please, Anthony, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now.
Okay, so I'm currently in London, which yeah, it's an opportunity to reinvent myself yet again, because I feel like I've had different phases in my life. As a teenager into my early 20s, I started off in the music industry with dreadlocks and doing that whole thing, and then transitioned into banking and finance and changed the look, and then into being a business owner. But where I find myself now is being back in London, after living in the States, after, just having a level of success, finding myself now in a country. I'm not going to say like a new country because I was born here, but I grew up in the States. But having that opportunity to meet people for the first time who know nothing about me, and I have the chance to be the me that I want to be, as opposed to maybe the me that I had become, and with things that maybe I didn't like about me.
Or like
So
expected to be, like other people's
yeah,
expectations. Yes,
yes,
exactly.
yeah. So it's been an interesting a year and a bit. It's been challenging, but I think one of the key things that has happened in this season is just me. First of all, I turned 50. Well, I turned 50 within the last couple of years, but being over 50 and getting into a point in my life where actually I feel comfortable in my own skin.
Mhm.
So that's been really good and quite liberating.
We always hear, and I think this was like a really big phrase. I'm 41, and so I think we probably both experienced this, but it felt like so many TV shows and movies and commercials and things growing up in the 80s and 90s talked so much about midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that was such a huge thing. And now that I'm in my 40s, I kind of have a new perspective of like it's not a midlife crisis. It's like a coming back to like center
Yeah.
where you no
Yeah.
longer are as concerned with what other people think of you.
Think or expect of you, or sometimes what you expect of yourself.
Yeah.
I've realized I'm not going to be in the NBA. Like it's not going to happen it's not going to happen at this point. So I just have to accept that. And but it's great because it's that pattern recognition, and that crystallization of understanding that when my parents used to say things to me, or older people, it's not because they were trying to shut me down. It's just because, like, you're 14, 15, and well, as a guy, I'm 14, 15, you meet a girl and you're like, oh, I'm so in love. This is it for the
Trust me,
rest of my life.
girls do the exact same thing. Like I cannot
Yeah.
tell you how many doodles I had in my high school notebooks and me like being Mrs. So and so and hearts
Yeah.
and yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I
And
follow.
then you feel so you share that with old aunts, uncles, parents, whatever, and they're like, it won't last. No matter how nicely and kind they try to be in saying that, but you're like, you're wrong. you are wrong. There's no way you could know because you're old. But then as you get older, you realize you've seen that pattern, and that's just a part of development. So when you can get to a stage in your life where you embrace that ability to recognize patterns, but not stifle other people, because you have to allow other people to have their journey. So I just like where I am. I like the ability to be able to apply wisdom and not I make new mistakes, but not make the same mistakes.
Oh, and that's such a beautiful turn of phrase, apply wisdom. It's one thing to have wisdom, to know wisdom, but to actually apply it is a whole nother step. And I feel like one step that's maybe not taken enough for most people, that we don't actually apply the things that we've learned through experience, good and bad.
Yeah. So it's good. And it's, like I said, liberating. I do feel like there's a weight off my shoulder, which was that this is what someone expected, or this is what I thought my life would be like. Because this is another thing that we do. We have this plan of where we're going to be, and we then sometimes aren't happy with where we are based on where we at some point said we were going to be, instead of embracing the fact that you are where you are.
100%. 100%. Time is such a funny thing because, time is really a man-made creation.
Yes.
Like, there is a timing to the world. We have our day cycles and night cycles and monthly moon cycles and seasons and all of these things, but just to mark things with, minute by minute, hour by hour, is our own interpretation of things. And so sometimes I feel like, exactly, it can lead to that disappointment if those expectations aren't met because something didn't happen by a certain deadline, without realizing that it's timing, not just time.
Yeah. I often talk to my clients about the concept of chronos time and kairos time. So chronos time is the on your watch, the bit that you're talking about. But what I always explain to them, do you remember a time in your life when, again, you're 14, 15, and you met this girl, and back in the days when we used to talk on the phone, and you would talk on the phone for hours, and you wouldn't even realize it was hours. That was that kairos time, as opposed to when you're at a job you don't like, and it's like tick, tick,
right?
Tick,
you feel like you've been there forever, and it's got to be quitting time, and you're like, it's only 9 a.m.
Yes, I just want to be more in that kairos time with people, where I'm enjoying being in that space, and you can lose track of time. And again, at this point in my life, I value that more than some of the superficial things that I used to pursue when I was younger.
Yes, and I want to get into more of what your business is. This has been, I could spend the entire time talking about these kind of topics because I love it so much, and I think it is important to allow ourselves the space to explore these concepts. So I love talking about it. But since I last saw you, you are now an author. You sent me a copy of this book, which is Business Networking for Startups and Side Hustlers: How to Build a Profitable Business Network Fast. Yes. I have really enjoyed this book, and you have other books too that you've written.
Yeah, spark. There's an expression we use in New York that's like someone put the battery in your back. And I remember when you came out with your book and then became a best-selling author, and the process that you went through and the deliberation and how pragmatic you were. And I was like, I know someone who's a best-selling author, and journeyed a part of that way with you. And it encouraged me. And in writing the book, part of it was about me being my authentic self, and knowing that throughout my life, one of the gift things that God has given me is the ability to connect. And when I was in my early 20s, late teens, I created an organization called the UEN, the Ultimate Entertainment Network, and it was a networking. Now, younger people that are listening to this are like, well, big deal. I'm on Facebook. I have a, this was before that. This was
Right.
before that, right? I tell the story about like just to build my network. I used to go into like the record shop on 42nd Street and pull out vinyl, right? Some people will have to Google this because they'll have no idea what a vinyl record is. But I'd pull them out and I'd get the address for record labels and I would send them my demo tape. And I built this database in Microsoft Word, right? But this was like the early version of that. And I created a network where I had like singers, dancers, musicians. And what we would do is we would meet once a month in Kinko's. We'd meet in Kinko's. We'd rent an office space in Kinko's, and like we'd have a producer saying, "Oh, I'm looking for a singer, and I'll do the track, but I just need someone to sing." And I built a network, and throughout my life, that turned into a music conference. I just had that natural ability, and what I found is, especially since COVID, and with the introduction of social media, the art of networking has been lost. And as business owners specifically, what I find is a lot of people don't dig their well before they're thirsty.
Mm,
So networking has become a transactional thing
yeah.
as opposed to a relational thing. So those are some of the things that the book covers. And I'm a practical person, so it's the type of thing where you can read it and you can put things into action now. It's what's in your hand now. You don't have to aspire to be at another level to be able to implement some of the stuff.
Absolutely. Which is a beautiful thing. And, thinking about relationships and how transformational they can be. I think about you almost every single day, and I'll tell you why. We were in a call back in January of 2023, I think, where I happened to come into your networking group to visit. I
Yeah.
just literally got a wild hair that day that I was going to come visit. And so I did. And that was the day that you were presenting, talking about ChatGPT.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
every time I use ChatGPT or some other AI, Gemini, whatever it is that I'm using, I think,
Yes.
that Anthony Lindsay, he's so great. I'm so glad he introduced me to this.
Yeah, and that is there's a funny story with that now because again I'm here in London and I'm reinventing myself. I wrote another book about ChatGPT and ChatGPT prompts, and because I go to events and I'm not there to say, oh, I'm going to find someone to do a thing. I'm just trying to build relationships, and because I'm so passionate about ChatGPT, people have started calling me the ChatGPT guy. So
That's
I actually
awesome.
bought the domain name. I bought the domain name, the ChatGPT. I couldn't get the .com, but I got the .co.uk. So it's
Sure.
the ChatGPT guy .co.uk because and on my profile, on my LinkedIn profile, I've put ChatGPT evangelist because it gives you back time.
Yeah.
It gives you back time with your family, and it levels the playing field for startups and for side hustlers in the sense that things that maybe they wouldn't be able to afford to pay someone to do. And I'm not talking about legal stuff, Catryn. Do not use ChatGPT to cover up your legal, medical, or financial. That's my disclaimer.
Disclaimer, disclaimer.
Yeah, but for some of the more mundane tasks, or even proofreading or just generating ideas, it's great. So that's what the other book is about. And yeah, I'm glad that sat with you, and I'm glad that you were there on that meeting.
Yeah, I think, and that's the beautiful thing about networking. Like even, the perspective shift of going there, and everyone starts to network with, what's in it for me, right? We're such
Yeah,
eye-centric individuals most of the time that you go there thinking, I have this amazing product or service, and I'm going to go share it with all of these people, and I'm going to get business and blah, blah, blah. But I think the reason you and I connected so well is we don't come from that place of
yeah,
expectation. I didn't show up to that meeting that day with any expectation for anything other than I miss these people. I
yeah,
really built a connection and relationship with them. I want to see how they're doing. How can I serve them versus how
yes.
can they serve me? And you served me so greatly. Being
Yeah.
ahead of ChatGPT adoption has saved me so much time and energy. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you so much for that.
Thank you for that encouragement, and that is my intention and talk, and that's what blows people's minds in networking because I find that everybody's read the same books and everyone's got their their elevator pitch together, and they're like, "Hi, I solve people's problems by da 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 da," da." And they're like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "Do you use ChatGPT?" And they're like, "Yes or no." If they say no, I'm like, "You should really use it. It will give you back time with your family." If they do use it, I'm like, job done. And they're like, yeah, but why are you here? And I'm like, well, I'm here to, build relationships. But the impact that it's had on my life. So I had my first daughter when I was 17, right? And I'm 17, so I'm not the man that I am now. And we have a great relationship. I was always there. Love my first daughter to absolute. She's one of my best friends, right?
Mm.
However, I did not have the time at that point in my life. Now I have another daughter. She's 4, and I value being here and being having the ability to see her develop things and develop some bad habits because she's like really stuck on Barbie right now. Everything is Barbie, right? But if I can just by telling someone about a tool that is free give them back that time to see their children's first steps or to spend time with their loved one or whatever, like that to me is life changing. And I love the ability to be able to give someone some information that they can do something with it that has an impact not only on them, but the people that they care about around them.
Yeah. Well, and I love who you're serving now. I think you've really done such an amazing job at dialing in the community you serve and what you serve them doing. And you shared it with me earlier, and it's a sentence. And I will always remember this sentence because you did such a marvelous and masterful job of creating something impactful and memorable. And so I'm just going to say it. Hopefully I get it right because then that whole thing I just said would be sound really dumb. But it's startups and side hustlers wanting to make their first 100,000.
That's it, yeah. So I help them do that. And that's part of this transformation. That's part of the reinvention of me. And you said something in there that again just shows our connection and understanding of each other because I'm blessed in that I'm not good at lots of things, but the things that I'm good at, no one can touch me. Like
Mm.
no one can touch me, right? And what I found is in trying to be the person that people expected me to be or that I expected myself to be, I wasn't able to serve people the way that God created me to serve them, right?
Mm.
So, you go online and you see all these things. I'll show you how to make 10,000 a month and I'll make you a millionaire and that's fine. Some people are called to do that. But I know that I'm called to work with that person who's looking to start their business and the people around them are giving them bad information, not intentionally,
Sure.
but giving them bad information and or they are now up and running and every time they log in they realize that there's a new concept or a new tool that could enhance their business and it's another 29 pounds a month or another 30 pounds a month or another £1,000 course, right? What I want to be is that guide and that person that can hold their hand, help them focus their mind to that point where I can help them build out the systems, like by using ChatGPT, using networking, and using a CRM, build out a system that when they get to that $100,000 or pound mark, pounds are stronger than dollars. So let me talk about that.
I mean, I feel like that's something from 1776 that we'll never get
Yeah.
overcome.
So, like I can help them get to that point, but unlike a lot of the other systems, which they're all good too, but I'm teaching the man how to fish. So we're getting to that $100,000 mark. You now have the CRM in place that you're not leaking data, and you now know how to do it to make the next 100,000 and the next 100,000, and then you can move up to other coaches and other people that can support you. But you're now a better customer for them.
Right.
because you have the systems in places, and the tweaking and refining that they can bring to you is going to be well needed. You'll value them better, and they'll value you better because you your mind is focused.
Well, and I gotta go back and just really reiterate something that you said. I've been very blessed on this podcast to have been able to interview many millionaires.
Yeah,
And something that I hear in common is that that first 100,000 was the hardest.
yeah, yeah.
When you don't have the
Absolutely.
momentum, when you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the experience, to really, you're just getting started with a dream, a
Yeah,
passion,
yeah,
to be able to leverage and kind of borrow what you've learned, what you've experienced, what works, and to have that structure is really, really important, because sometimes people luck into jobs too, where they
yeah.
just start doing something and it's like, oh wow, this is making money, let's grow. And then it's like, oh, I don't have the structure in place to support
That's it.
what I'm building.
I'm always surprised, but not surprised by the amount of people that have successful businesses that don't have a CRM. So they don't have a exit or legacy strategy. So, like, for example, I have an aunt who's a very well established businesswoman in England, and she got like an OBE from the Queen. She's, quite well established, right?
Wow.
However, the business is built around her, and the information is in her brain. She has systems. I'm not going to say she doesn't have any systems, but she doesn't have a system that, she could then just hand off or sell to someone else that would contain data that would easily be able to be assessed as far as the value of it.
Right.
And the value of your business is in your data and your processes for the most part. So I help people build those things that they can put themselves in a position that they can hire people to do tasks, or they can scale up quickly, or they can franchise, whatever they're looking to do. I just give them the foundational stuff and the handhold.
Hmm.
I think that's the key thing, because so many of the things can be overwhelming and feel like they're too big, so you don't do them. Whereas if you can pick up the phone, or you can message me, and I can say, okay, boom, boom, boom. And I have a good team of people that can do various tasks for them. So yeah, I found my purpose, Catryn. I
Mm.
really have.
I love it so much. I love it. I think we shine differently once we find our purpose. It's like
Yeah,
an inner
definitely.
glow
Yeah,
that kind of happens,
yeah.
because life is going to be life. Like, no one predicted COVID,
Mm.
right? What's going to be the next thing that comes at us? And by having someone like you in our corner really kind of helps give a little bit more stability,
Yeah.
um, to go through that.
And
So
and and with that, I think the other part of that is I know who I'm here to serve. That's the other thing. So if I am approached or contacted by someone, and I know I'm not the best fit for them, because I'm so confident in what's for me, what God has purposed for me is for me. So I don't have to take something that I don't feel is for me. Does that make sense?
absolutely.
So yeah, and people feel better served because they know that I'm bought into them, their vision, their dream, and it's not just, oh well, it's this fee, and therefore Anthony is doing this. They know that I am there for them.
Yeah. Yeah. You hear that a lot in marketing about, finding your niche, and, um, but it's one of those things where, what you do doesn't have to be just for startups and side hustles. It could be applying to everything, but if you were trying to serve everyone, you wouldn't really
Yeah,
be serving anyone.
yeah, and I mean, I don't go on various social media platforms for the purpose of getting followers, just random people. And what I found is some people have connected with me, and they're like, "You're doing it all wrong. You should be da 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 da." And I'm like, I look at their profile, and people existed before LinkedIn, but you have people that are like, "I can help you 10x your followers," and they have 50.
Right.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or by the language, and this is my pattern recognition, the person is fresh, off a 4-week course that has told them, oh, you do this, this is how a funnel works, and this is a, and I'm like, that's fine. Everybody has to start somewhere. But I kind of didn't ask you for feedback. Like, I take feedback on board, but how are you going to, you found me. It's just like the SEO person that was like, I found you on the internet, but I realized that you can't be found. So you need to pay me that you can be found. I was like, well, if you were, first of all, you found me. And secondly, if you were so good at SEO, you wouldn't have to be spamming me with all this stuff because people would be finding you, right?
Mm.
So I just stay in my lane. I just stay in my lane, and I want to help the people that I'm here to serve and make sure that I add value, because that's the other thing. Just being congruent, because I want the same person that you and I are, the same person you're seeing, to be within reason, because as a parent you have to be a little bit different with your kids,
Right.
but I don't want someone to, when I pass away, I want those tears to be like, he was a good guy, we're going to miss him. And I don't want people to have to feel forced to say something nice. I want it to really come from the heart.
I love what you mentioned there about the congruence, of that consistency between who you are showing up on as online, who are you showing up as in person. Because even, it was just yesterday, I was in a group session and we were doing some LinkedIn audits of each other's profiles, because there are so many little subtle things that we pick up subconsciously of where things are maybe in some sort of disagreement. There's some sort of dissonance
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
them, and we can't quite put our finger on it. But having other eyeballs on there to say, well,
Yeah.
here you're talking about this, but down here you're talking about that. So it was really kind of an interesting way to utilize and leverage these networks and communities that we're creating to be able to better us and help us to be those eyes and ears of the people that we haven't met yet.
Yes.
To see it with fresh eyes and say, okay, this is where we can kind of make some tweaks. So it's
Yeah.
exactly like you say, that it's more authentic. It's being true to yourself and showing up as you in all capacities.
Yeah, I like that concept. I really like that concept. So there's a group of you that like audit. Yeah, you said that. So
Yeah,
yes, there
yeah,
is, because you just said it. I was listening. Yeah. So there's a group of you that audit each other's profiles. That is really good.
yeah. And all with, and it's because we've created the safety to know that it's a safe place to voice things that are sometimes negative and know that it's all coming from the heart with the intention of making the other person better and show up online better and have better results. Like things like one of the persons, it was a beautiful picture that they had, but the background was really busy. And for some
Okay,
reason, it distracted from their face.
I see.
And it was like, well, what if you just took that picture and just deleted the background? You
Yeah,
could pop that in Canva in 2 seconds and
yeah,
have the background deleted and then re-put it up there. Because this person was thinking, oh, I need to go get new headshots. And it's like, no, 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 we
yeah.
can use these tools that we have to make these quick tweaks that are inexpensive and really make, how we show up pop more. So yeah, it's a fun exercise.
That is fantastic, and I think with what you're saying about the safe space, it is about having a group of people, as you said, that they know what they're talking about, because this is that thing with startups. So I have a client, and I was trying to explain. So he's running some radio ads, right? So it's a 45-second ad, and in the ad, he's all over the place. He does solar, right? So he gives his email address, he gives his phone number, and he gives his website. Now, email address is all over the place, and as you know, with an email address, if one thing is wrong, it's wrong. The phone number, he's like da 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 da, spits it out, and it's not like it's one of those things where you could say it's 832-123-5454. It's not like that. It's a hard number. And then the website is one of those ones that's problematic because it's a limited company, and he says limited, but in the website it's actually LTD.
Ah,
Long story short, I advised him to get a vanity domain name, which was callthesolarman.com. Boom. But then he spoke to other people who are like, one of his sons is they call them here barristers, He's a
Hmm.
lawyer. He said, well, I spoke to my son and and I'm like, yeah, this is not law. This is marketing. And it's a 45-second commercial. It makes more sense to say, go to callthesolarman.com. That's callthesolarman.com. Like I've said this, and that's in people's heads,
Yeah.
than to do all the other things. Then I was also talking to him about, don't take them to your website. I'll build a landing page for you that specifically just talks about EV chargers, solar panels. Click here,
Mm.
right? So it's that thing where you've created a group of people that you're auditing each other's LinkedIn, but you all have an area of expertise and there's trust, as opposed to you are in a group of people and nobody knows what they're talking about, but they're giving you advice and you're actually not adding value to what you're doing because people are just being random.
Right. Right. And that's exactly it. That's a really important distinction, that's the level of the people that are in the group, that they have that knowledge and expertise to be able to bring it and to give it good. And sometimes it's not even about advice. Sometimes it's just like something about this piece. Maybe it's like the background photo. Something about it's not right. There's nothing
Yes.
that's I know that's wrong, but just something doesn't feel right. And that's enough to start a discussion. And then we started going into it more, and it was like, okay, this is why. This is where it doesn't relate. Like, let's make this little tweak, and then, it's just
Yeah.
optimizing it basically. So it's really fun. And again, the power of networking.
Yes, it's vital, and that's one of the things I did like about being. Well, I like a lot about BNI, and I talk about it in the book. But it's that accountability that's created by meeting every week, and by me knowing if you send me a referral, that next week a question is going to be asked. And I think for small or startups or people that need that structure, it's fantastic. And the education moments
Yes.
and all of those other things just lend to forcing someone to structure their day and
Yeah.
structure their business better. And the networking, yeah, like those are my three things. So the ChatGPT, the networking, and the CRM. That's how I'm able to help a startup or a side hustler get to that first 100,000, because those are the tools, and these are evergreen things. So networking is always going to be vital to expanding your business, and a CRM, a way of organizing your information, will always be important. I mean, there'll be different tools, but that will always be important. And ChatGPT, I was just listening to an interview with Sam Altman, who, wow. And what they're doing now with Sora, so the next level ChatGPT is the text to video or the photo to video. It's mind blowing and it's quite scary. But
Wow.
by leveraging these things, like smaller independent individuals like us can save time, save money, and then we can use that time and that money on what's important, which is our family.
Absolutely. Oh, Anthony, I have enjoyed our time together so very, very much.
Me too.
So if someone listening is a side hustler, startup, someone else that's just moved to work with you, how is the best way for them to do that?
The easiest way is to go to startupsandsidehustlers.com. If you go to startupsandsidehustlers.com, you can get a free download, a free ebook. So that's one way of doing it. My LinkedIn is Anthony Lindsay, Lindsay with an A, Lindsay. Either way, you can get contacted with me. And I just want to encourage anyone, if you're thinking about starting a business, it's that thing. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Okay. So you do have someone here who will help you get to that first 100,000 and hold your hand, because we all need some hand holding at some point. So yeah, startupsandsidehustlers.com.
A very memorable website. So I love that consistency between the conversation and how you actually do it. Thank you so much for being a guest. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And to the listeners, thank you so much for being here. Without you, we'd just be talking to the air. So I really appreciate you for being here. Thank you all so much for the love and feedback that we receive. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Please tell other people about it. Please bring more people to this so that they can learn what you've learned from it. And if there's something that you're curious about, whether it's a specific person, industry, Whatever it may be, let me know and I'll see what I can do to get the best guest possible. Until next time, everyone, have a great day.